welcome back to the Lovely Digest here on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, hi, my name's Emily. So I've been not feeling so creative in the last week, so sorry for the lack of videos, but I had another creative burst this morning and I have 3 videos lined up for you guys. So this one, and then I am doing a little packing video on how I pack for my trips and how I make a mood board. I don't know about you guys, but I get really excited to go on vacation, so I make a little mood board that helps me to put together my packing list. So I'll be going through that with you guys. I'm going to Vermont, not this weekend, next weekend. And it's just going to be so nice. We're going off the grid, so no phones the entire time. But I'm thinking of bringing my camera, so I might do a little travel video, but we'll see. I don't know if I'll want to go completely off technology, but it sounds really nice to be able to do that and not have to look at social media for a little while. I feel very lucky and privileged to be able to do that. And then the next video that I have planned for you guys is an Ask Emily video, so I'll be answering a couple of your questions on there. By the time this goes up, it should still be on my stories. I'm planning on editing and putting up this video today, so go to my stories and check that out if you're watching this right when it comes out. But if not, please make sure to go to my website and take advantage of the Ask Emily box. I'm not a professional in any sense unless it comes to some areas of design and horses, but I was thinking that maybe a little, like, you know, those newspaper columns, I don't know what that header was, but you know those newspaper columns where you can like write in, and what was like the stereotypical name, like Ask Betty or something like that, like you send in your cooking questions, something similar to that. So go ahead and check that out. It's linked on my Instagram and right on the website. You can go into the contact me page, and then there's a little button that will lead you to the form for the Ask Emily. So jumping right into today's topic, pre-gastro appointments, I went ahead and made a checklist for you guys, and I'm so excited to share it with you because I wish that I had one of these before my first appointment, but I'm definitely going to be using this because I got my first appointment in Boston. I had to kind of rush into a doctor. If you guys have watched my Crohn's story, which I'll link above here, you'll know that I had a really tough time with my first doctor, so I transferred and had my first appointment on July 31st with Dr. Friedman up at Brigham and Women's. So I'm really excited for that. I've only had great experiences in Boston. The same thing kind of happened where I was undiagnosed for a long time when I was younger, and then I went to Boston, and within 10 minutes of being at the Children's Hospital, I got diagnosed with this more unknown but not rare form of nerve damage. It's very minor. It doesn't really affect me at all anymore since I've had surgery, but it changed my life, and it was just such a small thing that where I am just wasn't, I don't know, well researched. So I'm excited to go to Boston and see if there's more options for treatment plans for my Crohn's. As you guys know or might know, I lean towards wanting to be more holistic with how I take care of my body. However, I'm totally open to taking medication. It's just whatever my body needs and whatever's best for my body, and I feel like where I'm at now with my doctor, our views just don't really line up. He doesn't believe that food affects how you feel or can help heal you, and I don't really agree with that, where, you know, food is vital to how you're feeling every day, and what you eat really affects how you're feeling. So implementing that into my care for my body is in medicine is really important to me, and also I really am excited to find out what supplements I need to be taking. But anyways, I'm going on a tangent. To jump into the checklist, if you want to follow along, it is linked I'll link it on Instagram when I post about the YouTube, and I will also have it right on my website under my resources page, and I will show you how to get there. I'll put a little tutorial on how to get there through my website, so you guys can find it now and follow along. So if you have the sheet pulled up, the first thing that I have written down is to find a doctor. So do plenty of research. If you are with a doctor that you don't know if you really fit in well with, that's totally fine. But don't settle for a doctor that just kind of helps you move along. Find a doctor that's really invested in your personal lifestyle and your care. Personally, I have a lot of restrictions per se, or not restrictions, but like guidelines where, again, like I don't really want to be on steroids if possible. I want to lean towards the more holistic side. How can I integrate my certain needs into my care? So one thing that I took into consideration when looking up doctors with my mom was that I have migraines with aura, and they tend to get worse when I don't feel well or are really stressed. So factoring that in, looking into doctors that might have some knowledge on this, or at least practices that might have knowledge on this, so that you can really get your doctor to understand your full situation, and so that you're not just treating symptoms, but you're treating the cause and can maybe even eradicate some of the symptoms that are presenting themselves with your condition. The next thing that I have written down is a symptom journal. These are really important in helping your doctor understand your personal patterns, and it's also a really helpful tool in advocating for yourself. When you get into the doctor, sometimes you might be feeling well and you're not in all the pain that you're usually in, so you say, okay, well, I'm fine now. And then when you're really sick, you have to call your doctor and wait for the call back. And sometimes you talk to a nurse that just doesn't understand your full situation. And so having that symptom journal that they can go through and read, even giving it to them at your appointment so they can hold on to it and really go through it, that's always been really helpful for me and my doctors in the past. So make sure that you write down all of your symptoms. I know that this can be really hard, and sometimes it feels like giving into the pain when you're trying your best to ignore it, but I found that ignoring my pain makes it even worse. And so I do meditations where I use the Headspace app, and they have in their premium version a course on pain management and kind of how to reevaluate and look at your pain in a different way, and that's something that's really helped me. So I use that if I'm trying to journal about my pain but don't necessarily want to think about how much pain I'm in, so it really helps with that, and also kind of helping to calm down my nervous system. Also, for the symptom journal, make sure that you're writing down every single thing that's happening to you. You might think that maybe you're having migraines and you just don't connect it to your Crohn's disease, but everything in reality is connected. And also, if you're writing down all your symptoms, it might lead to a breakthrough in your diagnosis, or your doctor might think that a medication might not be a good fit for you because of a certain symptom. For example, I've found out that some medications like you aren't supposed to take with migraines with aura, and I never knew that. So doing that research yourself is also really important. Sometimes, doctors are expected to know absolutely everything right off the bat, and they don't always. They're human and they're just doing their best to help you, but it's important to do your own research as well. Another good thing that I don't have listed on here but would be helpful is if you do your own research, bringing in copies of journals and medical journals and articles explaining your findings to give to your doctor in case they don't know about your situation, or if you're like me and could only get into one doctor very last minute because you're in a lot of pain, bringing those articles to them and saying, this is what I believe in, and we might not be on the same page, and I just really need medical help now, but just something to consider for the future. And they might put it aside, or they might actually read it My doctor put the articles aside, didn't even bother to read it, but at least you try and you have those on hand for the next doctor that you switch to. The third thing is to compile your personal history. Now this can be really daunting. It's kind of hard, not gonna lie, to get all the information from the hospitals, but you just have to keep up with it and don't give up. Stay on them and just make sure that they're giving you the information that you need. This is your information and it is your medical history, so own that and hold on to all the copies and make sure that you have one place where you store all your records. I have a little box, or my mom has a box of mine and my sister's medical information, and that's really helpful to whip out when we need it. And then also sending files from one doctor to another can be kind of a nightmare, but again, make sure to stay on them and hang in there because it's their job to take care of you and you don't want to get lost in the shuffle. The next thing is to build a good support system. I have 2 videos on advocating for yourself and for others and for how to be a good support system or a supporter to a friend or a family member. It's really important to have someone with you or someone that knows the extent of your conditions, just because if you're really sick, you might need help getting to and from the hospital. If you have procedures, you can't always drive yourself home after. If you end up getting really sick and have to go to the hospital, you want someone who knows where your records are, can get you to the hospital, and kind of advocate for you if you're in a lot of pain. Some doctors just kind of want to get you in and treat the symptoms, especially if you go to the ER. And while this is okay sometimes, and if you know your body and you know that it's just a flare and you need some medication to feel better for the time being, then that's fine. But you should always think about having like a backup person who can be called if you need them. It's also important to note, I'm sure you guys already know this, but you want that person to be someone that you can trust and rely on. You don't want to have to call someone in the middle of the night, and you don't want to have to feel guilty for calling someone in the middle of the night if you need to, but it's always good to have a really good friend who understands your situation, or a couple of friends, so that way if one really isn't available, maybe they have a baby and they can't leave in the middle of the night, then you can call on someone else. Now, before you go into the doctors, it's really important to list out all of your questions beforehand, because there's been so many times where I've said, no, I know exactly what I'm going to ask them. It's only 3 questions. And then I've gotten in there and completely forgotten to ask like one or even all of them because the doctor just starts talking and I don't get my questions answered, but I thought that I did. So it's really important to come up with a whole list, and I mean go all out, because it's easier to have a list of questions that you can easily fire off or just check off because they might answer them without you asking, instead of thinking, wait a second, and like holding them up because you're trying to think of all the questions that you didn't write down. And lastly, make sure to make a list of all the medications and supplements that you are on. This is really important for going to a new doctor. Don't leave anything out. Even supplements count. They count as medicine because sometimes if you're taking vitamins and supplements, they can counteract or cancel out any other medications that you might end up going on, which is not good, obviously. So for example, if you're taking Cipro or Flagyl, like I am right now, you have to make sure not to take the Cipro too close to any iron pills or vitamins, because then it'll make it less effective. Not to mention that if you're taking one thing, you might not need it, and then you're overloading your body, and your doctor's job is supposed to be able to tell you, hey, I don't think you need this anymore. And if anything, not having to take all those extra supplements is actually quite a blessing. I've been trying to narrow them down, but truth be told, I have no idea what my body actually needs. I just go off based how I feel, which isn't the best way to do it, but I'm hoping that at the end of July I can have that all sorted out, and who knows, maybe she'll say, yes, you're doing fine, take all of the things that you've been taking, or maybe she'll look at it and say, well, this is dumb of you to do, don't do that, and in which case I will know for the future. But it's really important to write absolutely everything down. Everything counts. Anything you ingest into your body even including food, like you should be keeping a food journal too if possible, is really, really important. And then that being said, I know that I said have a symptom journal, but the food journal, if you do have one of those, bring that too, because if you keep one of those, you can kind of show your doctor, hey, this is like my diet and this is what I'm eating, and then they might be able to look at it and say, oh, well, if you're vegan, you might be lacking in some protein, take some collagen powder, or vice versa. If maybe you're eating too much meat and that's blocking up your intestines, and they'll just know based on your body. But every little thing helps. I mean, it's important to kind of condense everything down and not have like, maybe you don't necessarily need your full medical history, like maybe only everything about the last couple of tests that you've had is important because it's more relevant, but making sure that you have everything on file and just everything ready to go will save you a lot of time and worry and energy in those moments that you just don't feel like doing it and feel really sick. So if you're like me and need to do all of this and put it all together, make sure to put it in your schedule. I definitely put it in my schedule for this week to go through this checklist and make sure I have everything in order for my appointment so it is hassle-free. So thank you guys so much for sitting with me here today and going through this checklist. I hope that it's really helpful for you. Again, I will post it, the link to it on Instagram, and it's on my website on the resources page. All you have to do is go down to the bottom of my website and there's a link for the resources page right there on the Lovely Digest. So thank you so much for joining me here today. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope I'll see you lovelies here tomorrow.